But in pushing towards new medicines for the paediatric population, it's not just about carrying out these trials in children, it's about doing it with age-appropriate formulations which deliver the right dose to those individuals and which are suitable for those individuals. And you've got to understand that, you know, obviously a small child at about 8 months old is very different to a child who's 12 years old, and potentially they're also different from a full-grown adult. So it's not sufficient just to scale down doses based on body surface area, body weight. And also you've got to take into issues like, well, you know, a small child of 2 years old might prefer a liquid, but a 6-year-old child might prefer something different that can dissolve quickly in the mouth. And neither of the children of any age want to take a medicine which tastes, you know, completely horrible. So they've got to look at ways of delivering drugs with flexibility of dose, so that different doses can be delivered quite easily. Different systems which are also quite versatile, so they can be used as different systems. In one child, can be reconstituted into a liquid, so it can be delivered quite easily. In another child, it can be delivered as a solid dosage form, which dissolves rapidly in the mouth, and in another child can be swallowed as a normal tablet. There are also some parallels with geriatric medicines in terms of, I guess, some elderly patients with certain diseases who are not able to swallow their medicines as well. So also can draw some parallels with the types of drug delivery systems which will be needed for an aging population, also for children. So we talked briefly about the innovation challenge, and you've seen this data from PricewaterhouseCoopers already. Massive increases in R&D investment without necessarily increasing the number of new approvals over the last decade or so, last couple of decades. Obviously that has big implications for the type of approaches which are taken to try and either accelerate development or bring new medicines to market. However, if you look back into some of the literature, you'll see quite a bit of interest in getting the most out of existing drugs. A quote from Sir James Black, also of ICI fame: "New for old, the most fruitful basis for discovering a new drug is to start with an old drug," and that has its own context behind it. But there's also the potential to get as much value as you can from existing therapies. On the left-hand side, I'll mention the Zoladex product again, primarily because Zoladex, goserelin acetate, I believe the patent on the molecule expired some years ago, yet the product has maintained its sales in excess of $1 billion, primarily because of the drug delivery system and the patent covering that particular product. So it's no other company is able to bring a generic product, an equivalent product onto the market without infringing that particular patent. So that is a big option for many molecules to sustain their sales. You've also got the issue of changing the indication of the drug, and not just looking at indications of a similar nature, but looking at indications far removed from the initial uses. I've been involved over the years in a number of different strategies to take one drug used in one indication, change the way in which it's delivered to achieve a completely different therapeutic effect in a different disease area. So for instance, the use of cyclosporins delivered to the lung to treat asthma, particularly in steroid-resistant patients, the use of various cancer therapies to treat other hyperproliferative diseases such as psoriasis, but also using hormonal therapies not only to treat cancer, but also to look at disorders such as alopecia and male pattern baldness. So there's a whole raft of different uses that you can get from drugs, which require some level of drug delivery system design, some level of reformulation. Also moved to the area of supergenerics and trying to improve the delivery and the administration of some of these drugs to derive some improvement in performance. Got down in the bottom right-hand corner here the Abraxane product for paclitaxel, where it's delivered in a product containing albumin. And effectively, this type of product avoids the use of some of the toxic excipients which are used in the current off-the-shelf paclitaxel product, which themselves are responsible for allergic reactions and anaphylaxis, which are particularly undesirable. So there's a big opportunity here to look at new ways of delivering drugs to gain as much value as possible. Other future scenarios, well, one of the ones, a very basic one in terms of whatever drug we deliver, whether it's biologicals, whether it's low molecular weight entities, they've all got their physical-chemical problems which limit their utility and their value. Low molecular weight entities are going to continue to be there for a number of years, and what you'll probably find is with the majority of low molecular weight entities coming through development pipelines are probably about as soluble as the bricks which have been used to construct these buildings in which we're sitting. that provides big difficulties in delivering the right amount at the right extent to the site of action. Had a lot of hype about nanotechnology, but beyond the hype there's obviously some value in using nanostructures and using nanomaterials below the size of 100 nanometers, which have very unique characteristics which provide benefit in drug delivery. So there's a lot of work to be done in that area. We've talked about personalised medicines, but I think of flexible ways to deliver different doses to different individuals in a format which is suitable for those individuals as well. An area which I guess much work has been done over the years is in gene therapy and gene regulating medicines. How do we deliver these systems into cells and into the nuclei of cells effectively to achieve the desirable therapeutic response? And of course Mike just talked about regenerative medicine, so there's a big focus on how we deal with the regenerative medicine agenda. But as with all of these things, it's wise to have some form of health warning. What you tend to see, and the reason, as you say, it's Michael Fish, and in the same way that Michael Fish wasn't able to forecast the approaching storm back in the 80s, it's also very difficult to predict which technologies are going to be the winners in future. People tend to focus on the most sexy and sophisticated technologies. These technologies don't often make it to market and don't survive beyond the initial hype. And I've been involved with a number of projects where hundreds of thousands of dollars have been squandered on technologies which only works in very restricted areas. If you tried to make it, you couldn't make the material of the same standard twice, and in no way or shape or form could you make it at sufficient scale to provide the market with sufficient quantities of material. Also, a good learning point is to look back in time and look at the molecules which received a lot of attention sort of 5-10 years ago and see where they are now. So if we look back 5 or 6 years ago, we had the Exubera product from Pfizer, co-developed with Nektar Therapeutics, delivering insulin into systemic circulation via the lung. Due to a number of technical and clinical reasons, it's no longer on the market. Yet that activity is still got ongoing in the background with companies such as Mankind in the United States. Go 10 or 15 years back, you go to some of the different targeting strategies for cancer therapeutics. One so-called therapy approach was the ADEPT approach, antibody-directed enzyme prodrug therapies, aimed at using antibodies to target enzymes towards the tumour site so that they were available only at the tumour site to break down prodrugs into their active form to treat the disease without exposing the healthy tissues to those particular cytotoxic drugs. Had a number of technical issues which limited their utility, and now, although you might see a number of targeting strategies still out there, there's probably not a plethora of products which have reached the market. So it's always useful to be a little bit wary of fads and fashion and really think about those technologies which have the real legs to make it. So on that note, I'll leave it there, only to say that there are strong drivers for drug delivery technologies. There are many products out on the market today which would not be there without the application of some form of drug delivery system design. Opportunity for innovation, it provides benefit, therapeutic benefit, benefit in the use of drugs, getting the most value out of drugs, and obviously alongside that provides economic benefit. But as with all these areas, there are a number of key areas to watch out for, but I think you have to maintain that watching brief, because as I stand here and pontificate to you now about what I think will be the areas now, in probably 2 years' time they'll be very different, and different again in 5 years' time. So on that note, I'd just like to thank some of the individuals who have helped pull some of the data together, and thank you for your attention.